Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank you for attending my talk on privaterra, report from the field. I'd like to take this opportunity first, before anything, to thank you for attending this session, and also the Chaos Computer Club and their supporters to making it possible for me to present to you today. Over the course of the hour that I have with you, I'm going to speak about the work that privaterra is involved in, give you a little bit of history, but do this in a very interactive, visual way as well. So instead of just speaking about what we've done, is actually show you some pictures, and we'll really want some input from the community here as well. So first of all, my name is Robert Guerra. I'm the Managing Director of privaterra. And for the talk today, these are the key points that I'm going to talk about. First of all is just to give you a little bit of background on privaterra, how it got started, what is it, the type of projects that we've done, the type of things that we do. When I talk about working in the field, what that means, what is the field, the security workshops that we do, I'll give you a view of what that is. And answer and show you a couple of questions. What's there in the field? What can be done? Remembering the context. Something about secret archives. Some lessons learned, and questions and answers. What's more important is, first of all, is just telling you an idea what privaterra is. Privaterra comes as a result of some individuals, including myself, back in 2000, who very much were participating in privacy discussions, security and crypto discussions, both online and in conferences. And we saw that there was a lot of discussion about human rights. There's a lot of discussions about helping people who work with human rights with secure communications. This is right after the discussions related to the Clipper chip, to whether encryption is legal or not in the United States and other countries. And there was some work that was originally being done by the American Association for the Advancement of Science and others to try to get some human rights organizations, people who work with human rights, people who work, whose information needs protecting, to have some technical assistance. And so it was really the one or two individuals that were doing this. And we thought, well, it might be a good idea to try to bring a set of people to help this. And we thought, instead of just talking about it, what is it that we could do to develop a specific project, to develop a specific set of things that we could do to bring the ideas, to bring the tools of security, of privacy, and technology to some human rights organizations, but also to get from them what their context is, what their environment is, what's happening to them, seeing how those tools are used, what are some of the problems, and feeding that back into the community, such as yours, but others as well. But more importantly is, because in some of the environments, countries are very repressive, there's a lot of surveillance. Are there things that we could learn from those environments that then get fed into the discussions around policy, the discussions around protests? Are there arguments that we can use from other countries? And so we had this idea. What did we do? Well, first of all is we started talking to colleagues and to organizations to see what could be done, what could be set up, and to some organizations that could support us as well too. One of the first meetings was in around 2000, meeting with the cypherpunk community based in the San Francisco Bay Area, because there are some individuals there who'd been interested in crypto, who talked about human rights, just to get their input as well too. To also activist community as well too. This was the same time of the Dmitry Sklerov case, which is this case of this Russian programmer who built some code and talked about a security fault in the Adobe Reader and was arrested at the DEF CON conference. And we also spoke to some of the people who were involved in defending Dmitry and others to see, can we take some of this energy that's there, the interest that people have, and try to bring that to a specific project. And also at different conferences that some of us participated at the time, are there people there that were interested as well? So how could we bring these different communities together? And so from my home in Toronto, which is like here, full of a lot of snow, and spending a lot of time online, virtually, trying to get different people together, tried to develop what are some specific tasks, a mission for the organization that we could do, to make it into very simple things that we could try to do and then try to get some results. So we basically broke it down into 3 main things that we wanted to do, is training. Are there specific tools that we could show? Are there particular knowledge that we would have about security that we could help organizations with? And so the first thing was, are there basic concepts that maybe we understand really, really well, but others just don't? And could we help organizations with that? Could we help them with secure communications tools? At the time, PGP was very popular and still is. Are there other set of tools that we could help people with if they just don't have a manual or have never heard of the tool? And then what is it that we could use for these organizations to collaborate, to use online? Then are there ways, as I said, that we could bring some of this knowledge that these, and the experience of working with these people back to the community and put that as all into the advocacy community as well, too. The projects that we've done since 2000, and I'll show you some of the pictures very shortly, is we've worked almost in all the continents so far, in Africa, in Central Asia, in Kazakhstan, some places in Europe, particularly in Latin America, and Southeast Asia most recently as well, and have also spoken with the press as well too. Spoken them, what particular things have we done when I say that we've done some activities? We've spoken with individuals, we've spoken with organizations to see what is it that they would need, just have a discussion with them. But also when we talk about tools, we talk about teaching, it's getting some of the language that's used at these conferences, so and in other places as well too. If we talk about encryption algorithms, 1024 tool for 8 size key, does this mean anything to an average user who just cares about bringing a criminal to justice? They don't. They just want to get their things done. So, you know, what is it that we would have to adjust in terms of the language? Or do they have a technical person who was really interested in those things? So those are some of the things that we tried to do in terms of the methods that we tried to use. Focusing that we're talking about different cultures in Latin America is very different than working in the United States. In the United States, some organizations want you to come, do the training, and leave. And organizations in Latin America, you have to spend some time with them before, get to know how the organization works. You have to start building trust with them, and then stay some time with them as well too. So they really have a sense of that you're there not just as a foreigner who wants to go, but to actually give them some knowledge, give them some tools so they can help themselves. And so that's the approach that we try to do. And again, teach them some basic knowledge around the internet and security. So for example, one of the questions that is maybe very obvious to a lot of people here is how the internet works, how email works, how the web works. A lot of organizations that we help, both in Europe, in North America, and in South America, have misconceptions on how the internet works, haven't really had that explained to them. And if you're going to talk about security, if you're going to talk about vulnerabilities, that is a very key thing that needs to be discussed first. And so we do that, and we spent some time as well too. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through a visual tour. I've spoken for almost 10 minutes, and because it's towards the end of the day, let's try to spice up with some pictures. So in terms of some of the workshops that we do, it really depends on the type of organization and the type of need. Sometimes it's just an organization, it's a particular worker in the field that says, I need training because I'm going to be sent to somewhere in Africa, or I'm going to be sent to Russia. I need to collect some information, I need to send it back to London, I need to send it back to Berlin, and I know that there's surveillance. What is it that you can do or someone can do to help me? And so we'll do individualized training. We might also help a small group of people as well. So when we talk about one-to-one, it could be one person or a group of people that we work with. That's kind of symbolic. What it means sometimes in some contexts is, depending on the technology that's available, it really is a workshop that's outside. if you want to explain how the internet works and you have no power and you have no internet, it can be a bit of a challenge. And so if you put a sheet of paper, you get some colored markers, you can be really creative and people can really quite understand. In some of the places that we've gone, and some of the places where there's real issues in terms of violence, in terms of ongoing conflict, it's really difficult to get to a place. Some of you who've maybe flown to Berlin might have the picture of the airport when you arrived. It's probably very different than this airport. And that's the type of airport that you might find when you travel to places. And so if the conditions aren't right, if it's raining too much, you just can't land. Or maybe on the way to the airport, it's rained and your car gets stuck. Or maybe you need to leave because there's going to be a military convoy on the way. And so it's not easy to do. And it's also the people, if they're attending an event somewhere, this is the travel that they have to do. So it can be quite a challenge. Some places, like this one, this was in eastern Congo, are in a constant state of armed conflict. If any of you follow the news, you might see that there was UN soldiers were sent into eastern Congo just maybe a week or so ago, just before Christmas. And so some places are really problematic. This is an event that we did about a year ago. We really wanted to train people there because they know the conditions really well. We don't want to necessarily put people who don't know the conditions at risk. And so this is just to give you an idea. In terms of traveling, again, it can be really complicated. It can be really dangerous to travel some of the places. But what's very important is to really get a sense of an understanding of where you're traveling and what the conditions are. As you may have seen in the talk just previous in regards to New Orleans and Iraq, the issue of understanding how changes occur. And so an example in point, a situation that happened to us when we were in Congo, is we were just in the middle of the street, visiting the internet cafe, and we see a UN armed vehicle drive by. And so is this a good thing? Are they just driving by? Is it that there's a problem? All we know is that the problem is with young men, usually with guns, is when you have to be careful. Well, first we see this, and then we see men with flags making a lot of noise, some in military fatigues, and so we start to get really afraid. What is it that we do? And the person that's local with us says, no, it's no problem, you know, just watch. And so those of us who aren't familiar with the context are really afraid and don't know what to do. And so then we see motorcycles come. And again, a lot of people making a lot of noise. It can be problematic. But then at the end, we realize it's not a protest. It's not some military takeover. It just happens to be the birthday of Bob Marley. And Bob Marley is someone who's really appreciated in this part of Africa, and the flags that they were was the Jamaican flag, and that's why they were waving. But at first, we didn't know. And so the importance of really having people who are local really help out in these type of conditions is really, really important. And that's anyone that's interested in doing any of this type of work, that's a point that I really want to stress. Getting into, again, some specific pictures of different things that we've done, I'll go to show just some pictures of a workshop we did in Kazakhstan, Russia, and in Latin America. Kazakhstan is a country that some of you may be able to place on a map. It's a very oil-rich country that's just north of, almost north of Afghanistan. There's a country in between. Former Soviet Republic, speak Russian or speak Kazakh. And there was a funder who wanted to organize a workshop for technology people and activists in that region. And so I don't speak Russian, and so we had to find trusted translators. And we also had to find places to do the event. And so when we arrived, we find this very huge, what's called a hotel now. It was apparently a hotel for the Communist Party when Kazakhstan was part of the Soviet Union.